Let's talk about Wednesday. 11 games on. Let's go through them all the big performances. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Check out lockedondaily.com for the newsletter regarding all about your favorite team. Double bang this video as well, thumb it up, and leave your comments down below. 11 games on. That is a lot of games, isn't it? So we might as well just bang straight into it. We did a waiver wire show earlier today, so you've already seen the waiver wire trends there. So let's get in and talk about Wednesday's action. Injuries are plenty. Replacements are plenty. Overreactions are plenty. I am certain of that. And I'm sure the live chat here on YouTube is already filling up with some of those. That's okay. Let's get into the first game. It was the Indiana Pacers and the Orlando Magic. Pacers running out that same starting lineup that they have been running out. Good for them. In terms of performances here, the Magic do win at 94-90. That is a very, very low score, obviously. And let's go back onto Tyrese Halliburton panic watch. Now, in a good sign, he played 40 minutes and he had 11 assists. That's all very good. 21% shooting, 14 attempts, and 1 free throw. The shooting numbers for him continued to be terrible. I know this is not what you wanted when you picked him in the first round. I get it. Nobody did. He had back-to-back 20-10 seasons. Last season would have been way more had it not been for the hamstring injury. Now, I do think that he is bothered by injuries here at the moment. This shooting will improve. It has to improve. How much it improves, that's what I don't know. And that's, I guess, the concern here. Benedict Mathurin, 35 minutes, 23 points. Now, I think one of the more interesting or surprising things with Mathurin is he's getting rebounds now. 12 rebounds. He didn't shoot very well here, and he still got 8 of 9 from the line. That's always been one of his big strengths. He's being able to get to the line and get free throws. It is helping that Neesmith and Nembhard are out, but I would say that Mathurin has done plenty here and done enough to stick in the starting lineup at 30 minutes a night and be a 12-team league guy, which is good after a disaster season last year. Miles Turner had 11 and 2, just a pretty disappointing night, while Siakam had 25 and 7 and 4 threes. But Jarris Walker, again, we wanted to see what would happen with Obi Toppin back. Reduced, obviously, 23 minutes, but he did have 4 steals. He did have 5 rebounds. That's not a 12-team league player at this point. 4 points in 22 minutes. The 4 steals are, but we know. Of course, that's not remotely close to being repeatable. Not much else, I don't think, on the Indiana side. Ben Shepherd is doing absolutely nothing as a starter, so we can ignore him outside of deeper formats. On the Orlando side of this game, let's just go to Franz Wagner, because he is cooking at the moment. 37 minutes, 29, 3 and 6, a steal and a block. He didn't shoot well, but the volume is just so big. This is one of those great examples of the STP LTGs, because he is a sell high, clearly, because this usage will not maintain for the second half of the season when Paolo is back. Very confident of that. But in order to be able to execute a sell high, you have to move off and lose the good production now. And that's really a decision you got to make as to whether you want to do that or not. But he is just taking full advantage of the fact that no one else in this team generates a shot. I'm encouraged by Jalen Suggs' big minutes. I'm not encouraged by the fact that he shot 13%. He had 8 points. But he did have a Richie Beno, 2 steals, 2 threes, and 2 blocks. And the minutes are huge, and that's great. The rest, bad. All the shooting, bad. Mr. Black played 25 minutes. Now, you're not going to get scoring out of him. I think we're well aware of that. But this is a very, if you just cut off the first 2 columns there, or in a regular box, well, the one you're looking at on YouTube is a little bit different. But the points and threes, forget that. 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals, 1 block. That's very good. That's a very good performance. He has been quite up and down in terms of if he's even bringing those peripherals. It is hard to rely upon someone who's only giving those sort of stats. But those sort of numbers in 25 minutes is fine. It is useful to play against the Pacers and their bad defense, obviously, and sometimes carelessness on offense. But he's streamable at least in slightly deeper formats. And what we really need to watch, and I buried the lead here. Actually, we'll do that in a sec. Let's talk Goga. 21, 20 minutes the last 2 games, and then 28 here. A 12-12 double-double with 2 blocks, which is great. You roster him, you keep rolling with it. And then when Wendell Carter comes back, then we make the call. I wouldn't say that Goga's been dominating enough that he's going to push Wendell out of the lineup. I don't think that happens at all. But you wait and you see. The one I wanted to talk about was John Isaac, because if Jonathan Isaac plays 22-plus minutes a night, he can be a 12-team league player. For categories, not points. 11 rebounds, 3 blocks, 8 points and 2 threes is enough to make you go, okay. Because they were keeping his minutes lower, and with players out, there was an opportunity, and he just wasn't taking it. He took it. So again, we watch. I don't think that I would add at this point, but it's clearly like moving in that direction that you would want to be able to get excited about old mate, the yokai, the ghost rider himself. I just realized I didn't put the magic box score across there. So that, you know what? That is my bad. I'm going to put it across now so you can see it as I'm talking. Check that out. Have a look. Pause the screen if you want to go read the box score numbers. But yeah, like the yokai himself, I'm not sure we want to be over the top in looking at him, but we know that these sort of players don't really come along all the time. They don't really come along all the time. Let's look at the second game of the day now that magic box score has been up there long enough. The New Orleans Pelicans and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Of course, the Pelicans were again without Jose Alvarado, so their decision was to start Javonte Green in his place. We'll start with Green. I won't say it went particularly well. He played 26 minutes for 2 points. He shot 10%, so Jalen Suggs, you have a competitor for the worst shooter of the day. Green, in the past, has been a very good fantasy producer. This season, not even remotely close to it. Not doing anything efficient, not getting any defensive stats. He looks bad. Speaking of shooting poorly, well, I didn't, but I sort of did, but Brandon Boston. We got 8 points only from BJ, but 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and a block, and he's just going to brute force himself through to value here, and he's got to be rostered. While Ingram, he also shot terribly. 18, 6, and 6 with a steal. I'd say you'd maybe consider selling high, but is he even like really dominating at this point? Like, he's good. He's fine. He's 40th in points league. That's solid. And I don't think it holds rest of season. And you got to sort of, again, thread that needle when you try and do that and move off. Yves Missi did back-to-back double-double. Last game, 17-11. This one, 10-10. He took 5 shots and had no defensive stats. And honestly, that's not really there. I don't mind if he's rostered. You know what? I don't mind if anyone's rostered. Do what you want. It's your team. But I think that he's fine. He's a fringy sort of a player, and no usage increase at all without Zion, but we just got extra minutes. And again, this will all come down as the season rolls on. Trey Murphy's shooting was not there, but okay, his second game back, whatever. We're okay with that. 14, 2, and 2. No defensive stats. He will be better. Do not drop him. And if someone does drop him, please, 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 going at him. He should not be sitting on any waiver wires. On the Thunder side of the equation, of course, they made a change. Case and Wallace started. Aaron Wiggins went to the bench, and the Bronco played 31 minutes. Jalen Williams, 31, 6, and 7 with 4 steals and 2 blocks. With Chet out, he has a real shot to put up huge numbers. He's like a top 20 player so far this season. After a somewhat slow start, while Shai Gilgeous-Alexander didn't quite repeat the last game, but the volume's massive. Curiously, 48 from the field and 67 from the line, but 29, 5, and 5, 2 steals, 2 blocks is awesome from both of those guys. Would you believe that over the last 5 games, Jalen Williams is ranked higher than Shai? Over the last 2 weeks, Jalen Williams is ranked higher than Shai. There you go. As for Wallace, he does what he does. When he did what he did, he's not always going to do this, but he had 5 steals, and that is why you would stream him in. Now, we still don't have any hey, we must grab this guy because Chet was out, because it just is not going to happen that way. But that's great from Wallace. While Aaron Wiggins had 10, 5, and 3, and Isaiah Joe went scoreless and missed all 5 of his shots. And they're going to continue to cycle in and cycle out and cycle through. And I don't think any of it is going to matter until Hartenstein returns. So if you added Joe or Wiggins or Wallace or Caruso, who didn't even play in this game, I don't think you need to. I think you could just stream them in when the mood strikes. Lou Dort played 32 minutes. He's the one that I'd roster. 11 points, 3 threes, 2 steals, and a block. And we got extra AJ Mitchell minutes because Caruso was out. He had 6 points. He had 2 steals. He's been better than I would have anticipated, but I don't think there's really much there from a fantasy point of view. From old mate, what do I call him? Old mate AJ Mitchell. Yeah, I don't know why I just completely blanked on who that guy actually was there. Let's move on to the next game. We're talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers. Oh, actually, yeah, no. We'll get there in a second. We'll talk about the Cavs game. We'll talk about the Sixers game. That is coming up. That is a professional tease. We'll get there in a second. Today's episode is brought to you, though, in the meantime, by the Game Time app. Game Time Picks. What an unbelievable invention these blokes have come up with, because you want to go to an event. That's why you buy tickets, right? It's fun. It's enjoyable. We love our little pleasures. And you don't want to waste time. And you don't want to waste money. So Game Time Picks says, right, 2 problems. Let's eliminate them all in once. They'll just show you the best value tickets straight away. So you don't have to sift through everything and try and figure it out. Use your brain and go, is this the good one? Is this the good one? Is this the bad one? What am I doing? Game Time Picks shows you those good ones. Plus, you see the view from your seat, the event cancellation protection, the lowest price guarantee. They've got so many guarantees. I guarantee you they're going to come up with another guarantee at some point. I don't guarantee that, but I sort of do, because that is what Game Time does. So, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right. I teased it. I got you there with the old Cavs and Sixers game. Cleveland wins it, of course, 114-106, but that's a lot closer than you would think it would be, given the absences on either team. Jarrett Allen was questionable heading into this one. Evan Mobley was sick. They both played. On the Cavs side of things, Don Mitchell, 23, 13, and 9 with 2 steals after a slowish start. He is picking it up, which we thought he would, and we'll see where this ends. And then Darius Garland was also awesome. Again, 23, 5, and 6. It is true that they both can be good at the same time. Mobley, not his best, obviously a bit under the weather, didn't take many shots, but on an off night, you get 14-7 steal block. I'm good with that, and it was better to see Jarrett Allen, after 2 low-minute nights, push himself up, get 11 and 12 with a steal. That's encouraging. The rest of the roster, I don't think there's much going on there. And I talked about Ty Jerome today, old milk himself, on the waiver wire show, said, look, he's putting up these numbers, but everything he's doing is fake. Jerome had 8 points in this one. He had no rebounds, but still shot 75% again. He is shooting at an unbelievable rate that will not hold, but the minutes were well down. We don't add him in 12s. Karis LeVert, he was playing well and then didn't. 7 points on 8 shots is terrible. A 1-1 is nice. 3 assists is fine. He's okay to have. He's okay not to have. And I think that's just the default Karis LeVert position at this point. The Sixers side of things is probably where things get a little bit more interesting and a little bit more robust in terms of discussion, because there was no Joel Embiid and there was no Paul George after edging us to say that maybe they would play. They wouldn't, they didn't, and they won't. We saw a couple of changes in the starting lineup because of that. One of them was Jared McCain. You've done it again. I talked about McCain and his ability to generate usage and how no one else on this team could do it. Well, he started. He was great. And Andre Drummond was also out. So we got the dancing bear himself, Gershon Yabusele, starting. Let's start where everyone wants to talk about. And let's just start with talking about highlight reel bias, talking about overreactions. And this is not anything to do with fantasy, because on FanDuel right now, great sponsor, we love FanDuel, their Rookie of the Year favorite is Jared McCain. Come on. McCain was awesome. There is no doubt in that. 38 minutes, 34 points, 6 threes, 10 assists, and 2 steals. Took 26 shots. Unbelievable. That's a great game. He's had 3 really good games in a row. But let's also be realistic about what happened here. No Drummond. Why did I bring that up first? Who cares? No Paul George, no Maxey, no Embiid, and in 7 days' time, they might all be playing. That is not to say that McCain can't be good, and I said this 3-4 days ago. I think he's a better player than Kelly Oubre, and I'd be watching where we go with this. But this is the absolute peak ideal scenario for McCain to go crazy. And he did. Grab him. That's fine. Get ahead of it. It's a rookie point guard. The 10 assists is probably, and I don't have the number to this, someone might want to check it. Did he ever have 10 assists in a single game at Duke? Probably not. This is one of those games where absolutely everything went right in a situation where he had every opportunity. So sometimes you can have every opportunity and you can shoot 2 of 30 or something. But he had 36 usage. He got 10 assists. He scored 34 points and shot 26 times. And that just is not going to happen. It is not going to happen. Pretty simple. So I got no problem with adding him. Absolutely none. Do it. I've even talked about him as a really strong stream option for today. And hold it. But just be very cautious about who you might drop or how you want to evaluate him for the rest of the year. Solid stuff from Caleb Martin, 18 and 7 with 2 steals. His steal numbers have been through the roof of late, and that's really useful there. And we also unearthed 2K legend Reggie Jackson, 13, 4 and 4, 3 threes, 7 stolen bases, and shot 71%. Also, we don't care. We can move him back to the bench and don't worry about that. Same was Eric Gordon, who also was unearthed for 7 points in 12 minutes. He's washed. Speaking of washed, the Kyle Lowry. What is this nonsense? Lowry started this season really well. Then he had 0 points with 3 assists in 17 minutes. You don't have to hold Lowry. And while Maxey is out, look, McCain, again, he did it again. You can hold on to McCain because these other options aren't good. And the same goes with Oubre, who did have 20 points, but in traditional Kelly Oubre style had 0 assists. He did hit 2 threes, but I don't care to roster Oubre at all in 12s. I just don't want to do it. I would easily drop Oubre for McCain without any question. And self-branded hat legend Nick Nurse did say post-game that there is a chance that McCain starts when players are healthy. Cool. That means Oubre's going to the bench. But also, if he does do that, right? If he does start, that would mean that, the ball handling, the usage, he's going to stand in the corner as a spot-up shooter most of the time, I'm guessing. Because why wouldn't you? Gershon Yabusele started 31 minutes, 10, 9, and 5. At least interesting as a stream option, but that's about it. And we got some Boner action. 4 and 9 for a Dem in this game with a block. I do like Boner. I think that he's also a pretty good player, and that's 9 rebounds, and that's what he does. He's a really athletic, sort of undersized center, but he's a fair way down the pecking order here, and we had to get two centers out to get him into a sizable or a large enough position to matter. All right, the next game was the Boston Celtics smacking the Nets 139-114. Al Horford sitting this one out, so they did start Neemias Queta, who played 21 minutes and grabbed 1 rebound. Yuck. Again, we talk about fantasy all the time. That's literally the name of the show. And we talk about decisions and streaming and process and all that stuff. And yeah, if you streamed into Neemias Queta, didn't work. But the process is right. He was getting 20 minutes as a backup. Check. Got that yesterday. He was going to start without Al Horford there. Check. Happened. And then you get 8, 1 and 1 with a block. And that's just not good enough. But what were you expecting to do? Did you expect that the Celtics would play Luke Kornet 27 minutes after he played 5 yesterday? Probably not. Not that Kornet did well. 8, 3 and 3. There's always that risk there. But you try and look at the balance of probabilities with these decisions. And we have seen many centers cook the Nets. Queta just couldn't do it. And that's all right. Bit of a disappointing one for old Maximum Derek. 9 points, 22 minutes, 3 threes, a block. They went with a lot more Peyton Pritchard. 23, 6 and 8, 2 steals and a block. Last game, Pritchard had cooled off, but this is another just a reminder, just hold. Because he's doing a lot of stuff. Tatum was great on the back-to-back, 36, 8 and 10. Drew Holiday also did something, and finally some defensive stats. 16, 6 and 4, 3 steals and a block. Still don't think that he's a points league must roster, but categories you're probably holding, and Jaylen Brown did his thing, and that is put up numbers without good efficiency, and that's what happened here. We also got more minutes from Slam and Sammy Hauser, who had 12 points, all of those from 3. That is what he does, and that is what you can, I guess, somehow or sometimes take a crack at if you want to try him out in your lineup. On the Nets side of things, Dorian Finney-Smith was out again, and then Ben Simmons was out with a calf strain. So yeah, I reckon he can move on. I reckon Simmons might miss some time. I don't know. That's just me. What we did see, though, is Zaire Williams started. He had 23 and 6, a steal and a block, and that is 2 big games in 2 starts for Dorian Finney-Smith. Will they keep Zaire starting over Finney-Smith? They should. Whether they do it or not, I don't know. But, again, if you want to take a look and see what happens with no Simmons and no Finney-Smith, maybe. I don't mind, at least in 14s, I don't mind a grab of Zaire, but it is a really good indicator of late season value. Jalen Wilson was also pretty strong, 11, 5 and 4, and the Schroeder cooldown continues. 16, 4 and 3. He's 100th over the last 5 games, and that's honestly sort of where we thought he'd be. Not a shock. Cam Thomas was on my buy low show. He's still there. What's going on here? Why doesn't he take shots anymore? 17, 3 and 3. If Cam Thomas isn't jacking 25 shots, he's actually useless for fantasy because he doesn't do anything else. He's not totally useless, but this is pretty disappointing if from the expectation you had there. Disappointing night from Claxton, just hard against his Celtics team that goes small as well. He was pushing into bigger minutes and then played 24 and had 3 points and 5 rebounds. Wouldn't panic too much. I definitely wouldn't drop, but it's been a very poor start to the season from Claxton. And Cam Johnson also fell off here. 9 points, 26 minutes. We're holding him, obviously. He'd been playing really well, but did not in this game, as we can see. We've got more games. We've got the rest of the games, in fact, and then the lines of the night coming up later on in the show, including, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the All-NBA center Nikola Vucevic. That's coming up in a sec. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Tackle the NFL action right now. Get ready. Prepare yourself with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything that you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So in the middle of the game, if you get a hunch, you can check out the latest stats, the live play-by-play, and so much more on that same page where you would place those live bets. It's so convenient. It's so easy. Go to FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That is FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. All right, let's go through the next game. Which game are we up to now? It is, I think it's our Chicago Bulls. It is up against your New York Knickerbockers. The Bulls beat one of the NBA's most disappointing teams, the Knicks, 124-123. And let's talk about the man in the middle, the absolute GOAT, the league winner, the All-NBA starting center, Nikola Vucevic, who went 19 and 11 in 34 minutes. He had 2 steals. He shot 64%, 75% from 2. One thing that has happened, which I knew would happen, is his 3-pointers have cooled off. They were going to do that. His 2-pointers are still sky high. So, given the amount of vitriol that I get, or snark that I get about Vooch, and you know what? I dish out some snark at times so I can get it back, but just be aware, if you throw it at me, you're going to get it back as well. Vooch is going to cool off. Assured. It's assured. He will not do it. And the warning signs of this, of Vooch having a cooldown, is his usage is lower than last season. He's not getting the ball as much. His numbers are because everything has been going in at an outrageously high rate. And we've seen the threes already start to drop. He attempted 1 free throw. Deandre Ayton would be proud. And it's going to fall. Over his last 5 games, he's the 32nd ranked player. All right, that's cool. That's still ahead of where you drafted him, I know. And I know you think you got this gigantic win. And he's been great. He has been good. Everything is going in. The balance of probabilities. You can, and you know what? Write it out. Don't care. Write it out. It's all good. Just remember, Vooch has never done this before. Never. It's not hate. It's not bias. It's reality. Odasumu had a better game here. 16, 3, and 6 with 2 steals, but only 25 minutes. That's not enough for him. We've seen it all the way through. That's just not enough. While Levine had 31, 7, and 8, 2 steals, and a block and shot unbelievably. But look at the Bulls, right? They've got 3 players who shot over 60%. Levine at 71, Vooch at 64, Dosumu at 63, and my man, he's not my man, obviously, but Pat Williams, he's addable. He has to be addable. I've said that a week ago, maybe not a week. Maybe that's too far back. But you got to add him. 18 and 6, 3 threes, 2 steals. Has to be added. He's the 76th ranked player of his last 5 games. Got to be added. Has to be done. Good luck if that blows up. Josh Giddey, 5 points. Yeah, that's bad. With 5 assists, and he has been very frustrating. Obviously, we thought we'd get a little bit more out of Giddey this season. And honestly, for a points league, he's been about right. 77th ranked player. That's sort of what you wanted, yeah? Category leagues, it's been disappointing, and a lot of his shooting problems, which actually weren't bad last season. They were fine. His shooting was good last season. It's disappeared, and that is causing some problems. And Kobe White was very inefficient, unlike the others, but he had 22, 1, and 4. Not much else on that side of the ledger. So let's go on now and look about the Knicks, because again, they continue to be incredibly disappointed. I know they're banged up, but when they made the Karl Anthony Towns trade and the Mikal Bridges trade, there were people talking about them challenging the Celtics, talking about them being favored over the Celtics, talking about them being championship favorites, and pretty sure you take those sort of opinions back at this point, because another loss. And the worry here is that they're playing all these guys so many minutes. What if someone gets hurt? They're done. Karl Anthony Towns was a relatively easy pick, I thought, this season. 46 and 10 with 6 dribbles, shot 30 times, and somehow missed his free throws, 4 of 8. But he has been a revelation, the 6th ranked player this season. Mikal Bridges, after a slew of poor games, was good. 20 and 6 with 5 assists and a 3. We know it's been up and down with him all season. That's okay. And that meant that, of course, OG Anunoby did nothing. Well, not nothing, but less. 14 and 9 with 2 blocks for OG. The Jalen Brunson stuff still can't really kick on. And even in a game where he has 24, 3 and 8, the man never gets a defensive stat. He sees Anthony Simons and goes, I'm going to beat you, mate. I'm going to beat even legendary defensive legends, Bojan Bogdanovic and Evan Fournier. I think Bogdanovic had and Fournier had. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Someone might want to check this. Who wants to stat head it for me? I think there was like a stretch where Fournier, as a starter, had 4 blocks in 3 years. Total. Check it. Brunson's trying his best here. And missed free throws too. And Josh Hart finally had a somewhat off night, 6, 8, and 6. He'd been killing it, and he didn't. And then Juice McBride was questionable heading into it. He had 2 points in 23 minutes. He remains one of those guys that's fringy, but you're holding in a lot of cases just in case someone gets hurt, because he's the only guy on that bench who's any good, like, at all. All right, the next game. The LA Clippers, the Houston Rockets. Interesting thing here, I think it's relatively clear that you just go and add Chris Dunn. He moved into the starting lineup. He replaced Terrence Mann. He had 11, 4, and 8 with 2 steals. A very clear, very obvious, very must roster player. I don't know if it lasts. I don't care. Just add him and we go from there. Speaking of Mann, somehow he decided to pull the old finger out and had 14 and 7 with a Richie Beno. But I don't care about that one, and I will not add him. Jimmy Harden started out well, cooled off, 19, 6, and 7 with 3 steals, continues to still put up good numbers, but the field goals continue to be a problem. While Storm and Norman Powell, you'd be shocked to know this, settle down for a second, he is not a 50% three-point shooter. Who knew? Me. 13, 5, and 3 on 28%, and this is what happens. It will happen, and that is okay. That is totally cool. We just enjoy it. We enjoy the good stuff, we deal with the bad stuff, and we understand that that's how it all flows. Well, Zubats was also pretty disappointing, especially missing both of those free throws, but 8 and 6 with a steal and a block. Derek Jones Jr. had been pushing up, but he didn't. 11 points with 2 threes and not much else. He's still just firmly in that back-end stream guy. And the other interesting thing, if you look at the minutes, you'll say, what happened? Why did these guys not play? Well, they were getting cooked, right? And the bench brought them back in. So that's why you've got these random minutes, so like 12 minutes to Jordan Miller and 8 minutes to Kobe Brown. And they were pretty good in that time. But that's why Powell didn't get back into the game for a period of time and Harden's minutes were down. It's because those bench guys were playing really well and brought them back into it. So, yeah, you don't need to do anything with that sort of stuff. Or shout out Kevin Porter, 0 points in 6 minutes. He's bad. Who knew? But Chris Dunn, very clear. Probably almost the ad of the day, I would say. It's be hard to go past. I would think Chris Dunn is more of an ad priority than Jared McCain, Rookie of the Year, Jared McCain. I think he is more of an ad in that than that one. All right, the other side of this, the Rockets, I don't know if I mentioned it, but they won 111 to 103. Let's talk about Amen Thompson, who played 34 minutes off the bench. Wowee. 18, 11, and 3, 2 steals and a block, and good field goals, bad free throws. That is a standard Amen production line. Amen is a really, really interesting long-term fantasy player. I don't know if 34 minutes is real. How did he get there? Well, he got there by a couple of ways. Jabari Smith played 21 minutes. And that man, I have never wanted to jack someone as hard as I do with Jabari Smith.
Get that garbage out of here.
He's got to go, man. 5 and 4 in 21 minutes. 17%. There's 3 players on this bench. Yeah, 3 that are better than him. Maybe not 3. 2. Tari Eason, Amen Thompson. Very clearly better. Eason, 26 minutes, 18, 10, 1 steal, 2 blocks. These guys are just unbelievable fantasy producers. And you just got to roster them. Weird that they sort of kept them out of things to begin the season, but we're done with that now. Şengün, another big block night from the big fella. 13, 11, and 6 with 4 blocks, while Jalen Greenness continued. Another example, a shining example of the stuff that happened last season. The 10-game stretch, he was awesome, and then he was bad the other days. And then he started this season with like a 4-game hot streak, and now he's back to being Jalen Green. And 21, 7, and 4 is not bad. But it was inefficient. He didn't hit field goals. He didn't hit free throws. He didn't get defensive stats. And that is Jalen Green. That is what he does. He's 72nd in points leagues. He's a high 86th in category leagues and trending down quickly. Not a bad Dylan Brooks night. 15 with 4 threes, but like that's just streaming sort of stuff. But yeah, Amen, huge minutes. Eason, huge minutes. They are very clear must roster players. the next game, we got one of the more overrated players coming up in this game. We're going to talk about him in a sec. We'll start with the Wizards side of it. They lost to the Spurs 139-130. Jordy Poole, what is happening with the big fella here? 42, 2-6, 6 threes, 2 steals, 68%. Yeah. Jordan, you are 12 months too late. What are you doing? And again, I will say it again, and I know, and I'm going to talk about it at length with the Wemby stuff soon. Process is important. I got it very wrong on Jordan Poole last season. The result was wrong. The process, I believe, 100% correct. Because look at this. Look at what is happening. Now, I didn't think the defensive stats would happen, but this is the process. You go to a bad team, you get the ball in your hands, and you put up numbers. Here we are. Just took a year to get there. And that's why when I did my projections again this season, I was still fine with taking him in the 60s. Because process is what I believe wins out. Jonas Valanciunas had 16 and 13 with 2 blocks, just getting it done in the very lowest of minutes. And that's always scary, but it's happening for now. While Keyshawn George, yes, good. 32 minutes, 12, 3, and 5 with 2 steals, and played minutes over Kyle Kuzma because Kuzma sucks. Kuz only played 25 minutes. He had 10 points, 2 threes, 2 extra long sleeves, and 6 rebounds. Don't drop Kuzma, but we're watching it really closely. That's 2 games since he returned on low minutes. I'm guessing it's minutes restriction. Also, talent restriction's probably an issue there as well. This is why I wanted to hold Keyshawn George for a game or two just to see what would happen. As for Bubbles Carrington, it's fine. 13, 5, and 5. It's fine. The shooting's fine. He had 4 steals last game and 2 blocks and had 0 and 0 because he was a bad defensive stats guy in college too. And that's always going to fluctuate. Bub is a 12-team league player. But some of the stuff from that last game was clearly not repeatable. And Bilal, 6 points, 5 shots, no threes. So much of what he was doing also was incredibly unsustainable. And like I said the other day, one thing to watch with Bilal is that when the shots go in at a high rate, he just gets really high usage. And if he misses, well, nothing happens. So it's like you get the huge highs. You get it like the old injected into your veins moment of, hey, look at this. Bilal, he's flying. He's good. He's unbelievable. Bilal had 35 points on 1 shot. Unbelievable. And then the next game, he has 4 points on 2 shots. It's like you get the high highs, the low lows, the crash, the burn. Still rostering him, obviously, but over the last 5 games, 131st. Which is, again, not that big of a surprise. Alex Sarr, I want these minutes up. Please, put them up. What are we doing? 12 points, 2 rebounds, a steal, and a block. I am holding. I get it that you might be annoyed. He's 107th in points leagues, clear hold. Category leagues, he's like 130... he's 138. Yep, which again is annoying. But there is like just 2 more minutes. 3 more minutes. We're not far. We're there. We're real close. If you just keep going, we will get there. I promise you. Let's go to the other side of this, the San Antonio Spurs. 139. They beat the Wizards, as we said. Let's talk about Wemby, because he had 50. He had 8 threes, he had 6 rebounds, he had 3 blocks. He shot 62%. He's 50% on threes, 8 of 16. And yeah, I know, it's been frustrating at times this season. He's now the 6th ranked player in points leagues, and he's the number 2 ranked player in category leagues. And yeah, Jokic has been way better, obviously. Right? There's no debating that. Nikola Jokic is the number 1 ranked player in fantasy basketball, clearly. But look, this is what I said at the start of the season, in the preseason. I had Wemby number 1 without any question at all. That's not true. Not without any question. It is true that I had him at number 1. I'm not debating that. But what I said multiple times is if I had 5 number 1 overall picks, I'd do 3 Wembys and 2 Jokic's. And I didn't think you could go wrong either way, and it's okay. And if you did pick Wemby, I don't think you've gone wrong. We're 10 games in. I've got no idea what's going to happen from here on out. There's like an 8 or 7 minutes per game difference between the two of them as well. And there is zero guarantee that Jokic's minutes stay this high, efficiency stays this high, or he averages 14 rebounds and 12 assists per game. He's awesome, Jokic. There's no questioning that. But it's not as simple as, well, what a bust Wemby was. I took him at 1 and he finishes at number 2. Like, sure, at the moment, November 14th, it would make a lot of sense that Jokic was number 1. But guess what doesn't end on November the 14th? The NBA season. I'm not even saying that Wemby is going to be better than him. He might not be. And we can assess that when we get there in March and April. But we're not there. None of this is decided. And Wemby's putting up huge numbers. Right? It's cool. We'll see where it goes. I don't know what is the right or wrong decision. To me, the process was still fine. And then we figure it out at the end of the year. Chris Paul, 9 points only, but 11 assists and 3 steals. That's obviously awesome. And Devin Vassell getting there, 25 minutes, 17, 2 and 3, triple one. Didn't shoot well, but the minutes are pushing up. It is, I think, going to be a pretty strong season from Vassell from here on out. Buble, Julian Champagny had 12 and 5 with 3 threes, which is not a bad line in itself, but it's really just not that interesting. It's a stream guy. It's not a must roster because what they did is they cut down the horse's minutes. Keldon Johnson, 8 points in 23 minutes with 6 rebounds. He shot poorly. He's a bad player. And you don't roster him in 10s or 12-team leagues.
Get that garbage out of here.
What else do we need to talk about? Oh, we need to talk about Steph Castle, who played 27 minutes and had 10, 1 and 5, which is just thoroughly mid. Is it bad? No. It's fine. Does it necessitate a must roster? Absolutely not. Because Vassell's minutes are going to rise. Trey Jones is going to return. Down the track, Sohan returns. And overall, I just don't think Castle has everything that you need to be a fantasy must roster player. Don't. 50% shooting, really good. But he took 6 shots. And what's he ranked now for the season? 247th? 203rd in points leagues. 146th over the last 5 games. Which is not bad. It's not bad. But not a must. Have him? Sure. No worries. Malaka Branham returned. He had 8 points in his 13 minutes. Let us move across now to the next game. We're talking about the Detroit Pistons and the Milwaukee Bucks. In overtime, the Bucks win 127-120. The Pistons were without Jaden Ivey and without Tim Hardaway and without Simone Fontecchio, so they had to make some changes. Ron Holland started in place of Jaden Ivey, and Leaky Beasley was in there in place of Tim Hardaway. Let's start with Beasley, who played 44 minutes, 26 and 10, 8 threes. That's awesome. He's not going to rebound like this. He's not going to shoot like this. He's not going to play 44 minutes. But while Hardaway is out, if you're looking for a points and threes option, sure. Leaky Beasley is an option for you. Is this a revenge game? Sure, have at it. Add it to your ledger. Thick Hogsman was bad, 10 points in his 27, while the Passport Legend was mid as well, 9, 9, and 6 for Jalen Duren, which is fine, and he played those extra minutes because Isaiah Stewart got ejected. You don't need to hold Stewart in any 12-team leagues, but that's why his minutes were low. As for Ron Holland, not a terrible game, but 11, 4, and 2 with a steal. 50 from the field is okay, or it's pretty good, and 1 of 3 from the line is bad, and we don't need to bother with rostering him. It helps that Asar and Ivy and Hardaway and Fontecchio were all out. Clearly. What about Cade, though? 43 minutes, 35, 7, and 11, but that's not the story. The story is 6 turnovers. 6 turnovers. What a disaster of a pick Cade has been, and he shot 38% as well. Continuing to suck and be one of the worst players in the NBA, and it's really it's pretty obvious now at this point. What's that? He's ranked 15th on Yahoo Points Leagues and 18th in category. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, he's fine, yeah. He's pretty good. Yeah, we got it. He's pretty good. We accept that now. Cool, we're good. All right, the other side. The old Milwaukee Bucks. Few injuries here. Obviously, no Chris Middleton. Still no Damian Lillard. Ryan Rock'n'Rollins was out. Delon Wright started. Delon Wrighted. This is what he does. 0 points. Cool. But 4 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 steals. That's what he does also. It's what he's known for. But this is because 2 other point guards are out, so don't do anything with this. Don't react to it. Unless we hear there's some long-term scenario, which there isn't, don't react to this. React to Yanni, though. 59, 14, and 7, 2 steals, 3 blocks, shot 62 from the field on 34 attempts, and unbelievably 16 of 17 from the line. This is the week, guys. I've told you, when you draft Giannis, you will win free throws some weeks. It happens. It is possible. It's dumb, but it's possible to build a team that's not punt throw with Giannis. Again, it is dumb, but it's possible. Because free throws are incredibly variable. This is ridiculous. This won't happen again from Giannis. But it was great, and we take it when it happens. It's a little bit of a bonus when that happens, isn't it? Brook Lopez, speaking of bonuses, 29 and 8, 3 steals and 5 blocks. That is 2 absolutely gigantic Brook Lopez games in a row. I don't think we should feel any level of reliance on that being a thing that happens, but yeah, that's great. There was no Bobby Portis in this one as well. Also, we got a resurrection of Gary Trent. Do I care? No. 11 points, 3 threes, and 2 steals. That's sort of a standard Trent line. We'll see whether the 34 minutes holds because Andre Jackson had 4 points in 31 minutes and AJ Green had 3 points in 21. I get the feeling that Doc might Mike Brown us here. Doc Brown, there you go. Great Scott. he might just rotate those three guys through those minutes, and then it becomes even more complicated when Chris Middleton returns. The artist formerly known as Taurean Prince had 15 and 10 with 3 threes, shot 16 times, which is probably a few too many for Taurean. He's a stream guy while players are out, and after that, I am very, very certain that we do not care. All right, let's do the next game. The Minnesota Timberwolves back-to-backing against the worst team in the NBA, but maybe they're not the worst team in the NBA because Portland beats them 2 games in a row. Minnesota, that's some real question marks for the face of the league, Anthony Edwards and the Wolves. They lose 106-98. Edwards has 24 and 4. He doesn't hit a single three. He shoots 25 times and misses most of them. 4 steals and a block is nice and continues to be fine. Frustrating, I guess. Yeah, frustrating. There was no Mike Conley. He sat in this game, so we got Nickeil Alexander-Walker, not Rob Dillingham, starting. 32, not Dante DiVincenzo either. 32 minutes for Alexander Walker, 13 and 4 with 3 threes and 3 steals, and that's about as good as you could have expected. And we just keep that in mind next time Conley sits, that maybe Alexander Walker's a stream. DiVincenzo, oh my God, what is this nonsense? 2 and 3. 10%. No threes. It has been an absolute roller coaster for a guy that is incredibly overrated. Good player. Incredibly overrated though. And we got 9 minutes of Rob Dillingham. Julius Randle bounced back sort of, but it's a very Julius Randle game without the assists. No defense, bad percentages. And Naz Reid backed up his monster game last time with a subpar game. 15 points, 2 threes, and a steal and a block. Gobert, another disappointing game, I'd say. He's on a bit of a cold streak here. 12 and 11, no defensive stats. That's very, very empty from Gobert. And unsurprisingly, Jaden McDaniels was not able to bank on last time's big performance. He had 7 points. He did have 4 steals, but we know what he is. He is a stream merchant only. On the Portland side, well, we got something, didn't we? Because we talked about on the waiver wire show that Rob Williams is probably going to sit today, and Ayton we didn't know, and then we'd see what would happen. Now they've got this huge gap. I think it's 7 days where they play one game, and it's on Sunday. And now the question remains, what do you do with Donovan Clingan? Because he played 31 minutes. I didn't think he could, to be honest, and that's great that he did. It is a very big man game. 17 points, 12 rebounds, 60% shooting. He hit all of his free throws and he had 8 blocks. 8 blocks is obviously ridiculous. And now the conundrum is, yesterday, what was Rob Williams? 19-9, 3 steals, 3 blocks. Everyone rushed to grab him. Now everyone's going to be rushing to grab Clingan. So what do they do? What do we do with the snowman? I think we have got brewing here a very annoying 3-center mix rotation thing. I don't know how long Ayton's out. I think he might miss some more time. No problem if you want to add Clingan. It's got to be close to best case. 17 and 12 on perfect field goal or perfect free throws with 8 blocks. It doesn't get any better than that. But after we all ran to add Williams, Clingan does this, remembering that 2 other centers are out. And it is a tough call. Get out ahead of it. No problem. Do it. But remember, you will not get any resolution on this at all. Even a partial one until Sunday. Maybe we get an update on Ayton's finger, but he might go back and play 13 minutes next game, Clingan. This could be all for nothing. In terms of viewing Clingan and Williams and Ayton, who's got the potential to be playing decently in big production in February and March? Well, it's this guy. It's Clingan. But it's also could be a rough run of things. It's a really tough spot to be in. Shaedon Sharpe was great here. 33 points. He took a lot of shots, and this is what he needs. A lot of usage. And with Simons out, he got it. And part of people think that I think that this guy's bad, or I know people think they twist words or they don't hear words. All I've said with Sharpe is all he has shown is an ability to be a volume scorer. All right? And he needs the volume. And guess what? He got the volume with no Simons and no Ayton. He scored them and had 33, 6, and 1 with no defensive stats, exactly illustrating some of the issue with Sharpe. That's great, but this is not a realistic everyday scenario. As for Scoot, 11, 4, and 5. 2 steals. I would probably hold until we get a little bit more information on Simons. It looks like I thought maybe cracked rib, fractured lung. I said illness. What sort of illness? You're on the court and all of a sudden you go, oh, I can't breathe. COVID? Maybe. Maybe that's a week out for Simons. But that's not encouraging from Scoop. Last game was encouraging from Denny Avdia, and then he had 7 and 6 and played 18 minutes, and we are jacking.
Get that garbage out of here.
Well, Jeremy Grant backed up his big game with 8 points and 3 rebounds. Good for him. Delano Banton continues to play well. And Chauncey Billups is leaning into Delano Banton. If I'm in a 16-teamer, I'm adding him. If I'm in a 14-teamer, I'm adding Delano Banton, honestly. 13, 2, and 5, 2 steals and a block. He's just putting up numbers. And Tamani Kamara, it helps with these players out. Ayton and Simons helps Kamara. Full strength, not useful. This strength, yeah, 11-8 with 3 steals is really good, obviously. And they remain a team that we just don't know about with Simons, we don't know about with Ayton, and they don't play until Sunday. So we will not hear anything, I'm guessing, for quite a long period of time would be my guess. The next game is the Lakers. They beat the Grizzlies 128-123. Memphis made a change because Brandon Clark was out, and it wasn't Zach Edey that started. It was Jay Huff, the Magic Dragon. He played 13 minutes. He had 6 points. He had 1 block. I talked about him on the waiver wire show, how the last couple of games have been insane from him, but also that the games before that he'd gone 1-1-1-1-1-1 in each of the block categories. So, it looked good, but it was no shot of sticking. And it didn't stick, very obviously. But Zach Edey played pretty well. 12-8, a steal and a block. If you want to have him on your roster, totally okay to do. I think it's reasonable to have him. I don't love him still long term, but he is looking better. Jaren Jackson, 29-7 with 2 steals and a block, and it was a very good game from Santi Aldama. 15-7-5, 3 steals and a block. You don't normally get that from Santi. He is totally reasonable to have at the moment as well. Just long term, I'm not really sure. What they also did was start Scottie Pippen over Marcus Smart. Pippen had 15-3-3 with 3 steals, and Smart was good as well, 15-2-6. I would add Smart if available, obviously Pippen too. And as little bits and pieces change with this squad, we'll get more information that we don't have yet. Jake LaRavia, 10-3-4, that's okay. Well, Jalen Wells continues to start, and not really much of a fantasy option outside of the deeper formats. Still a lot of players to return though. Morant, Bane, Clark, G.G. Jackson, and Vince Williams, who I think could be back in the next game or 2 would be my guess. On to the Los Angeles Lakers side of this thing, and they win, and LeBron does it again. 37 minutes, triple-double, 35, 12, and 14, 4 threes. Didn't shoot well from the free throw line, but he is the third-ranked player over the last 2 weeks in fantasy. How is this man doing this? It remains crazy what we are seeing. AD with the sore eye, 21-14 and 3 blocks. Good game there. And Rui Hachimura, first good game in a while. 19-7, 3 threes. He's a stream guy. I'm not looking at him as a 12-teamer. And the question, I guess, begs is, what do we do with... What's 2 things here? D'Angelo Russell, 20 minutes, 8 points, 2 assists. That, obviously, is not good enough. But I am very loath to be dropping D'Lo at this point. I think we will get there. Honestly, I think he's not good. I think the Lakers think he's not good. Darvin Ham reversed course and made me look stupid last season, but it's too many times. But I'm just a bit loath to do it. It wasn't Cam Reddish that got the extra minutes. He was bad because, yeah, he's Cam Reddish. He had 2 steals in 23 minutes, but it was Dalton Connect. He got hot. 19 points, 5 threes. And I think that is a great way to look at this. That is a great line from Connect. But I think part of the reason that D'Lo played 20 minutes and Reddish played 23 is the Connect missed 1 shot. He was 7 of 8. And without the 19 points and 5 threes, there's not a lot else going on there. And that enabled him to play those extra minutes, which was fantastic. But, of course, he's been nowhere near this good in any other game at all. So I wouldn't be rushing to add him at all. Hopefully nobody does. Austin Reeves has 18, 2, and 6 in that one. Nothing too exciting. And with old mate Jackson Hayes out for a few games, we've got Christian Koloko in as the backup center. So for those of you in deeper formats, Koloko had 4 points. He had 13 minutes. He didn't block a shot. But usually, he's going to be able to do that. That is, if there's one thing that Christian Koloko does, it's block shots. Unfortunately, he didn't do it here. The final game of the day. The Kings get the easy win over the Suns. The Suns were missing a couple of players. Obviously, Kevin Durant wasn't there, but Royce O'Neal started in place of Bradley Beal, who was out with that calf issue, and Yusuf Nurkic did return, pushing Mason Plumlee, the cockroach, to the bench. Is he dead?
Get that cabbage out of here.
Don't know, but we drop him 1 point in 12 minutes for Plumlee. As for Nurk, only 22 minutes, but 3 points. Ooh, that's yuck as well. 14% is terrible, but 11 rebounds and 3 steals. We're holding on to Nurk. I would be very, very comfortable ignoring whatever this is from Josh Okogie. 28 minutes, 25 and 8, 3 threes, 2 steals. He shot 67%. He got extra minutes because Beal and Grayson Allen were also out. I wouldn't react to this at all with Josh Okogie. Tyus Jones, even with those players out, 8 assists is good, and he shot horribly for 10 points. He remains a hold, but he's 147th over the last 2 weeks in category leagues and 121st for the season in points, which honestly is about the area I thought he would be. Ryan Dunn, finally some defensive stats. 2 blocks, 1 steal, shot 36%. He's okay as a stream guy, and that's about it. Well, Royce O'Neal, man, you are killing me with this shooting. 17%. He had 5, 5, and 4, and again, and only played 22 minutes. Everything is in place, but this might turn out to be a really bad stream because he just can't hit any shots. And it is unfathomably bad how bad he has been. Everything makes sense. The role is there. The production in every other category is fine, but nothing goes in. And I think I grabbed him in one league, but that doesn't matter. I would persist with it because it makes the most sense, but man, this shooting is just horrid. Devin Booker had 18, 3 and 5 with 2 steals, but of course, when Josh Okogie's the leading scorer, you're going to lose by 20 plus. It was awesome to see this from De'Aaron Fox, and I don't know how much we can put on the fact that DeMar DeRozan lasted 17 minutes, but Fox had 29, 6 and 10, 2 steals and a block, best game of the year. One of the things that is always talked about, and you know what I'm going to say about DeMar DeRozan, right? I talk about it. These guys have been playing too many minutes. But it's also like, DeRozan, man, he led the league in minutes. He's always healthy. He's durable. Yeah, until he's not. Now, I don't know that he's going to miss any time. I've got no idea. But he left this game with back soreness. Yeah, from carrying these blokes around for 38 minutes a night. He had 2 points on 1 of 2 shooting, weirdly, in 17 minutes with 2 blocks. We hope that everything's all right. But, yeah, be aware. Keegan Murray was better without DeRozan. Kevin Huerter was great. The old Kevin Huerter experience. 22, 6 and 5, 3 steals and 2 threes in 37 minutes. He should be rostered. Opportunity is there. Now DeRozan's out. Monkey's out. You should have Huerter because they're leaning into him. You probably should have Keon Ellis as well, who started the second half, but it's only for defense. He had 9 points, but he did block 2 shots and usually he'd get some steals. Unfortunately, you didn't get any of them here, but I think that we can roster Ellis in this spot, while Sabonis had a very low end, almost a Ray Felton triple-double. 11, 10, and 9 overall, and Trey Lyles was good again, but I don't think we need to really do anything at all with that, to be honest. Now, this has been a very busy day for me. A lot of stuff going on. Trainings and funeral I had to go to during the day, so I haven't had time to go through and do all the lines of the night and the graphics for that, so I'll just tell you who won them. Giannis is your line of the night, monstrous line of the night, ahead of Wemby. Wemby's your young gun of the night. Donovan Clingan is your waiver wire line of the night. And your dud of the night is, very obviously, Dante DiVincenzo, the big ragu. There were a few competitors. There was D'Angelo Russell, there was Jabari Smith, there was Nick Claxton, there was Cam Johnson, there was Keldon Johnson, Derek White, a lot of them. But no, it is Dante DiVincenzo with the dud of the night. That'll bring us to the end of the show. I'll have a mailbag tomorrow around 2:30 p.m. Eastern, so be on the lookout for that live on YouTube. I forgot to mention at the start, and at some point I'll change that graphic, joshloyd.bsky.social on Blue Sky. I'm over there. I'm trying to migrate a lot of my content over to there instead of Twitter because, get your politics out of it. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.